So, today's journal prompt is what lesson keeps showing up for me? I was quite triggered and immediately typed in how to deal with scumbags. I was going to say that's a little bit harsh, but no, it's not. Especially the first one. There are two men in particular that I've been out with. The first one, we only saw each other for 2 months? The second one was just one date. But just the lack of emotional maturity, the projection. If I were a different woman, I would have been in danger. I would have lost my whole self. Actually, no, I actually just remembered another one. Three. Two for one date, and I got out of there. The first one in particular was about 2 months. And for the most part, my dating history has been fine. I've met a lot of nice guys. We just weren't each other's person. All good. But there are three in particular that I was way too patient with. A people pleaser, no one would ever say I am. I actually grew up being told that I was mean. My mother always told me that because I was a little person with boundaries. But I guess looking ahead into, the dating world and being an adult, there are ways that I made myself small and didn't speak up for myself and just let things, I'm super chill. I kind of just let things flow. I let people show themselves, I let people do them. And whoever you are as a person, I can either take it or leave it. I am not in the business of changing anyone because that is not a real thing. That is not possible. The first one I made a video about. I made a video about all three of these actually on this channel. The first one, from the first date, God was like, girl, let me throw you this bone real quick. We ended up randomly, just through circumstances, ended up at this restaurant that I'd always wanted to try. Super bougie restaurant, pinky up, like fine Mexican dining. It was a great time. Made friends with the bartender until she came over when he was in the bathroom and said, so the women at the end of the bar. This is a very random establishment, like, where is it? In Flatiron, New York City. There were only like 5 brown people in this restaurant. Me and him were 2 of them, and the 3 ladies at the end of the bar were the other 3. The bartender came over and said, so the women at the end of the bar said they know this guy from Harlem and he has a fiance and you need to know that. When we showed up to the restaurant, he put on this act saying that we were visiting from Trinidad and la 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 la, and he's like roping the bartender in, and she's like, "Oh, welcome, da da da," and I'm just looking at him like, "What kind of weirdness is this? Why are you just lying?" Red flag. But I just let him be. I just like just let him be. Moral of the story is he probably was hiding a woman and God knows whatever else. Man was just a super creep, and I should have known from the time I met him because his best friend is a super creep. His best friend is a well-known super creep in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy. But you want to give people a chance and ignore the red flags. Well, I should say I wanted to give people a chance and ignore the red flags. We don't do that anymore. It went on for far too long, but that was definitely the only situation I was in for that extended period of time. After that, it was just one date and done. I will see through the end of the date just to give myself the peace of knowing that, you know what, girl, I've always said to myself that I date like Jerry Seinfeld. Like, oh no, I'm good. Like any little flash of like, I can't deal with this, I'm out. It's like, you know what? Let's grow up. Let's get to know people, give people a chance, develop some emotional maturity on our end as well. La la la. The second guy, this was, a guy, he seemed perfectly put together, well dressed. He had normal friends. Everyone seemed like they had their shit together. Yeah, I realized when he was making plans for the date that he did not know what he was doing. He was just all over the place. Around the time that we were supposed to meet up, he was like heading to the Bronx, which like to because he lived in the Bronx to like change and whatnot. And I'm just like, this is first of all, if you live in Brooklyn, you don't need to be dating nobody in the Bronx. That's a long distance relationship. But I was patient, and I don't think I like bothered really. I was like, well, that sounds like a personal problem, and I took myself out to dinner at one of my favorite spots in the neighborhood, and like 2 hours later, he hit me up talking about like he's on his way down, he'll be there shortly, and I'm just like, that's not my problem. He shows up and he looks like a totally different person. The man who was like clean cut, well dressed, he showed up with like a big old gold chain, very loud colored clothing, very loud sneakers. I was like, okay, I guess this is our nighttime wear. This is our party. It's a Sunday night. So where are you going dressed like this? Looking like Flavor Flav. So he came and met me where I was having dinner, and I basically told him, so once I'm done with dinner, I'm going home. He did not take a hint. He hung around. He even tried to take my drink and give it back to the bartender because I was taking too long. I was finishing my drink, and I knew the bartender. She was like, no. He gets up, he leaves, and I'm just like, thank God. And we're just looking at each other like, girl, what was that? I leave the restaurant. 15 minutes later, the man is standing outside on the phone, waiting for me, apparently. So we walk down the street to the main thoroughway to Fulton. And I'm like, okay, so I live this way and you're going that way. So good to see you. I'll see you next time. The thing was that, like, although the date should have ended there because he's a ridiculous person, I probably would have gone out with him once he'd gotten his shit together. Like, I would have given him another chance, another night, and really wasted my time. So at this point, like, all the plans are all up in the air, and he's trying to like argue with me about, oh, we didn't settle on a time, and like he's really trying to pull me out of character. And I'm like, this isn't healthy. He gets in a gypsy cab to go down the street to his job. Apparently he had to return something to his job, which was only a couple blocks away. And he was like, so are you getting in? So I had this choice point. I was standing on the corner. I looked left and I saw like I just had to walk a couple blocks home. Or I could go straight ahead and get into this gypsy cab with this man. And something told me go. So I went. I got into the cab with him. We went to his job. It was cool. They were closing down. Clearly it was like the end of the night. And he decided to pour me a drink, and I'm just like, why am I here? He decided to try and organize for us to go get oysters in Bushwick. and la la la. And apparently that fell through and he didn't tell me anything. And then he said, oh, we're gonna go up the street to the sister bar of the place that we were at. And I was like, wait, I thought we were going, where are we going? I'm just confused. And by the end of the night, apparently we had settled on, what was it? Was it going to Bushwick? Yes, because we had to get an Uber. And so instead of going up the street, he decided that we were going to Bushwick. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, oh, my phone isn't working. Can you get the Uber? And I'm just like, wait, so we're going to Bushwick, we're not going up the street? And I was like, but you didn't tell me anything. This is all very confusing. This is all very stupid and not really the main point. The main point's coming right now. We're standing out front of the restaurant. His colleagues, coworkers are standing in the threshold of the restaurant and they're watching. And basically, clearly, I'm like, I'm not hailing no Uber for no grown ass men. This don't make no sense. And I'm like, wait, so where exactly are we going? And he leans into me and says, get the fucking Uber so we can go. The world stopped. I said, whoa. Like in my head, like everything is just spinning. And I look at him. I tell him, you have a good night. And I turn right back down the street towards where I live and I just start walking. I remember it clear as day. I had these big Sennheiser headphones on. I put them on and I blasted Schoolboy Q. I looked at my phone. He was calling and calling and calling and calling. For someone whose phone was dead, he was calling. And I was just like, yeah, no, we're just gonna keep going. And I was just so grateful because this man is clearly off. This man clearly has abusive tendencies, and I had no business being anywhere near him for much longer. Yeah, we all know the story, the third story, the third instance that I did a YouTube video on last month, April, May, somewhere around April, I think. Yeah, that's another one where, you just want to hear people out. You want to give people a chance. We all emote differently. It's like, you know what, maybe this young man just is emotional and that's okay. No, he was unhinged and he had a lot of issues that he needed to work out with the help of a therapist. And it was no longer my business to intervene. There's only so much I can do. I can't carry my things and someone else's things on my back. So yeah, that little journal prompt just flashed all of that before my eyes. I still, wish all of these gentlemen the best. I would imagine that I am not the only woman who has seen that side of them. I will not be the last. I for sure was not the first. But these are really great realizations to move into my next life with, because the boundaries, the fort is strong around us. I lean into my vulnerability. I know how safe I am. I am so safe and protected and loved. I have an army surrounding me. However, that does not mean that I can just let any and everybody into my space for extended periods of time. I am just going to fortify those boundaries, and day by day, I speak up with a level of courage. I've always been known as somebody who just says what they mean and mean what they say and is very comfortable with that and is not into like hurting people's feelings, but what I say comes from a sincere and real place. Um, but yeah, I'm just no longer afraid of the consequences. I think it's what it is. It's a self-worth thing. I'm not worried about letting an opportunity, a man pass me by, because I know if it's not you, it's somebody else. And they're just waiting for you to get out of the way so that we can meet. So yeah, that is a journal prompt for the ages. That's it for me for today.